amongst the best-speaking British colonies, and what are the likely consequences? Joining me tonight is journalist and analyst Timothy Kalyegira, who has been critical of the English language usage in the country. Welcome. Welcome, Timothy.
Thank you, Sheila.
Do you agree or disagree with what I just read there?
Of course I agree with you.
Why?
Because it's self-evident. Ugandans just have degenerated, no longer an upward mobility country, no longer interested in high standards. They're just content to be third-rate. So you're right about that.
Where do you think this stems from?
It's the last, it's going to politicize and say the last 32 years of 7, although that's partly true. I have no idea, but in the 1950s, 60s, part of the 70s, there was this pride in eloquence, being gentlemen, ladies and all this. And over the last, I guess 15 years.
Is there any scientific proof to that? Is there
it's just fact, you can feel it everywhere. People are very happy to be, act lower class, I guess. That's the present in thing. If you listen to these radio stations, presenters always almost struggling to speak bad English. Even those who speak good English, you go on social media, everybody try and speak this poor English. So the country just no longer feels, what people like Zambians feel, that sense of, be dignified, be something. So
what do you mean struggling to speak bad English? Because you make it look like it's a mission.
It's almost become, I think there's this, people are almost afraid of elitism these days. People who speak well, who went to good schools, almost apologize in those Facebook and WhatsApp groups. There's almost an apology for being, eloquent, being stylish and whatnot. So it's just gone down, down, down. Then, of course, like I said, the last 32 years of this atmosphere in which, President goes Kololo airstrip, it's a national event, he's speaking Uganda. Not that there's anything wrong with Uganda, but that dumping down that we began seeing first in the 1970s. Olaro Tuno goes for a campaign rally and, people shout at him and say, if you don't speak Luganda, you can't address us. And you say, what kind of country is this?
I've read your piece where you say, where you're getting tired of Luganda. But honestly, looking at how our population is, the composition of our population, most of them are illiterates. So you would want the president to go and speak to those illiterates.
Yes, but then they should aim to go upward. That's what I'm saying. This loss in everything. You can see, but even watch, the adverts or listen to them. Even these telecom companies and others are now beginning to go down. Where before there's always this aspiration to be international, now there tends to be this dumping down. Some of the terms in the adverts using this local term. So I guess the country now wants to be at the pigeon level, which makes me wonder why everybody's always angry with the government. People always complain. On one hand, politically, they complain, standards are down, corruption, health systems have gone down. Then on social media and life, they all want to be down. So I say, we should all be grateful to the President Museveni. You should be grateful for the substandard education he's given us. Give him another 30 years in power.
Okay, let's talk about the school where the training takes place. English has been degenerating, both in speaking and in writing. Where's the problem? It can't just be because of the 32 years.
It's partly the 32 years, but also, I guess, when the reason I say this is in the first 24 years of Uganda's independence, the perception was people from northern Uganda, northeastern Uganda ran the country. And of course, they did not speak Luganda, so we were forced to speak English, the national language. Because of that problem, we don't have a national language. We're like the Nigerians, Zambians, and whatnot. When the Bantu-speaking Southerners took power, and of course they understand Luganda and understand each other, so then there's no point. So now it became those things you see. Even official government things, what is it? That sort of, what is national programs being taken to one dialect, important as it is, but then forgetting that sense of the nation. So now that's where we've gone down. Down, down, down. And like I said, we should be grateful for the short-day education system the NRM has given us. We should vote them for another 20, 30 years in power, since that's what we want. In our adverts, in our sports, in our music and everything. I don't know, this country let me
play devil's advocate here, because what role does government have in how a private run company, advertising company, churns out its adverts?
No blame, no. They don't blame the government. Of course, the commercial companies, they're gonna cranes, catchphrases, straplines. All this is the populism I'm talking about. But it's all coming back to us now because there's result. I mean, the result is English in decline. And when the president was launching in, I think, January 2016, his updated version of mustard seed, and he said, in State House, my aides bring me documents, letters for me to sign, and the first thing I do is spend the next 10 minutes just proofreading this.
And in fact, in his mustard, in the mustard seed second edition, he spent, I think, first 30 pages trying to specify some English, usage and
interestingly, people of that generation, the Msevenis, the Janet Msevenis, the Mama Mbabazi, Besjes, all those Alara Tunus, they might have political difference, but the one thing they have in common, good English. Written English, formal, yes.
All right, so how does Facebook, WhatsApp, social media have anything to do with what we're seeing now?
It is the populism. It just gets the cesspool of the national attitude and just dumps it down. And as I said, you can sense people's insecurity. Everybody fears to stand out on social media. So there's all this Chigwe. That's all done.
But then there's to say
I pity this lousy country. But sorry, saying some TV.
Of course, your views about this country are very known. You've been very.
I am not proudly Ugandan. I am just.
Regrettably so.
Reluctantly Ugandan.
Okay.
Yes.
So there's been talk about, use of slang, right? And even the teachers the other day doing Monitor's interviews, the Monitor interview I think last week, said that use of slang has a lot to do with the effects of what we are seeing now, poor English usage, people writing shorthand, and ultimately that comes out through how, from what they speak and what they say. How do we go about that? How can we correct that?
Well, people like me, have been crucified on Facebook with the Kampala Express. From the day one I began insisting, you bring me all this slang of yours, all these filters to block you out. People first complained, and then gradually I started noticing now that people are complaining, became proofreaders. So, the NTVs usually labor to give us formal English, so maintain the standards, and you can see it's the popularity across the country is there. So I guess what it is, in spite of ourselves, people know better but need to be led by example. So let the NTVs, the other print media, let those who feel there's a sense of standards just maintain it.
And you previously criticized journalists. You said that they could easily fail a P3 examination.
Which is true. Don't you see all these people, who keep on regularly bringing us these excerpts from the main national papers, which I will not mention, but all these really, really obvious grammatical errors, which, like I said, 10, 15 years ago would have caused it to repeat primary school. It's that bad.
Our teachers qualified enough anyway.
It's like I said, that's why I said that's where the 32 years comes in. In general,
honestly,
no, I'm saying in general, there has been a reduction in national standard. There's been an increase in quantity in shopping malls, in phones, that sort of thing. But the specific urge for quality, that has gone down. And then in comes this American hip-hop music, and so now the popularity of hip-hop music, the Jamaican patois and all this, people actually genuinely no longer know what's right and what's wrong. People do. There's this expression outside countries that shocks me. People know.
So correct those who may not know. What should it be?
It's, you say abroad, you say foreign country, but outside countries, this Ugandan English. Then there's a word about fond. Ugandans who can't say found, fond. Then there's clothes rather than clothes. There are things you can say. Like I said, this country needs to be recolonized.
Can you apologize?
I'm sorry, I said this country needs to be recolonized.
Okay, so
I'm just sorry for saying it, but not that I don't mean it.
Okay.
Have you met Zambians? Have you met? Do you remember during the crisis over President Mugabe's resignation? Did you listen to the BBC programs, the CNN? Did you listen to the Zimbabweans? Did you notice from driver to wherever? No, I'm just saying, from driver to president to soldier to wherever, you notice the coherence of the Zimbabweans, the good English they spoke.
All right. So can you again just try and broaden our understanding of English or the English language? Just give us those few lines or sentences that are said wrongly, or should be said.
It starts almost like a comedy show. It's help, not help. It is found.
But
I found you here. It is FOUN. It is like sound, round, not fond. There is endless things you can say. But like I said, it's incredible that we have the BBC World Service here in Kampala. People just tune in, listening to these British native speakers of English, the CNNs. And by the way, interestingly, these children's cartoon channels, the Kids Call, the Nickelodeons, have, forget that they're cartoons, they actually have some of the best English in the country. If you want your children to learn good English in primary school, kindergarten, just tell them to listen keenly to those children's cartoons. Excellent English.
Of course, my director is really bugging me. We need to leave. But the other challenge is that many Ugandans, those who try to speak English like me, or those who are really, really average, do not have enough pool from which they can pick their diction. So even when you speak the English, you're really restricted in how much words you can use.
But you have smartphones, people.
Okay, but how is that connected to the reading culture in this country?
This is what I'm trying to say, is that I can understand in the past, but today in your handbags, in your pockets, you have something called a smartphone. All the world's information is there. Go to the BBC website. Go to excellent newspapers like the Los Angeles Times, New Yorker.
How about those who can't afford smartphones? Because you're now speaking to a certain category of people. Well,
let's start with that category of people to start with, then we can spread the rest. But let's at least, that category of people has a problem. Let's begin with what is obvious. It's there, there's Wikipedia's. Read Wikipedia, read the BBC's. Go beyond just the news.
Okay, thank you so much. I've been speaking to Timothy Kalyegira.
Frustrated Timothy Kalyegira.
Timothy Kalyegira, who needs to work on his frustration. And who has just apologized that Uganda should be recognized.
Who has said he has apologized, not apologized.
Okay, who has apologized. Thank you. That was Talk of the Nation.